more than 5 years. Personally witnessed the outcomes delivered to our listeners. So please visit LoneStarTransfer.com or call 855-551-7066. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. WYHD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The U.S. ratchets up a standoff with Iran in the Strait of Hormuz.
The Defense Department says the U.S. military has seized another tanker linked to the smuggling of Iranian oil.
Motor vessel Majestic X, we intend to conduct the boarding of your vessel.
Officials released video of U.S. forces on the deck of the oil tanker Majestic X seized Thursday in the Indian Ocean, in the same area where U.S. troops seized another oil tanker headed to China. There was no immediate response from Iran. On Wednesday, Iran attacked 3 cargo ships in the Strait of Hormuz, capturing 2 of them. The standoff between the U.S. and Iran has effectively cut off nearly all exports through the strait, and gas prices have skyrocketed. I'm Donna Warder.
At least 10 people were injured Thursday as 2 groups of people opened fire at each other inside the food court at the Mall of Louisiana in Baton Rouge. Authorities say at least some of those responsible fled the scene as a huge police response arrived. In a major policy shift, the Trump administration has reclassified state-licensed medical marijuana as a less dangerous drug. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The move does not legalize marijuana for medical or recreational use under U.S. law, but the order changes the way marijuana is regulated, shifting licensed medical marijuana from Schedule 1 to the less strictly regulated Schedule 3. President Trump has promised to expand Americans' access to medical treatment options. Critics say the order sends a confusing message about the dangers of marijuana. Greg Clugston, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average down by 179 points. The Nasdaq dropped 219, with the S&P 500 lower by 29. More at townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Leah Hill with your first solar forecast. It's a great day with breezy conditions and temperatures in the mid-80s. Overnight, we fall to 63 degrees, and we're in the mid-70s tomorrow. Also watch overnight between 1 and 9 a.m. Some storms are looking likely. There is a very low severe wind risk. And then Friday, between 3 and 8, isolated storms are possible, with the highest chance for that being to the south. Beyond that, keep an eye on Monday. We have a first alert weather day. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Dr. Michael Lewis, West Point grad, physician, and retired Army colonel, is considered the world's leading expert on the use of omega-3s in brain health. He's also the author of When Brains Collide. Dr. Lewis, a lot of people take fish oil supplements, but how do you know they're working if you're not testing?
Elizabeth, I've come across the biggest breakthrough in my 30-plus years of medicine. What if you could test yourself at home to see if your fish oil supplements are actually working? And then have the right product, a combination of fish oil and olive oil, a perfect Mediterranean diet in a bottle delivered right to your doorstep. This is the answer to the American ultra-processed food diet. Email me at test@brainhealtheducation.org. That's test@brainhealtheducation.org.
Email Dr. Lewis today at test@brainhealtheducation.org and take the first step toward a healthier brain. Your future self will thank you. That's test@brainhealtheducation.org.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story when I almost died in a West Texas oil field.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now. They just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Yeah, I think a lot of Americans are still surprised that we are still in this government shutdown, Reed, 69 days later. This is a first step, but it is certainly not the finish line. What the Senate has passed is a budget resolution, not a full funding bill. It is the framework, in this case, allowing Republicans to pour tens of billions of dollars, $70 billion, into ICE and CBP, two of the more controversial agencies within the Department of Homeland Security responsible for immigration enforcement, essentially funding them over the next 3 years or until the president's term is over.
There's some news from Capitol Hill on the home front, and we've got news from the international front to the home front to the local front here on today's Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. Happy Thursday edition here on April 23rd, 2026. Chris Arps, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, I'm not doing fantastic. Right before the show started, I had my little notebook computer and had it in my book bag and didn't have it secure. And I threw it halfway across the room, and now my screen's cracked, and I don't have my computer. So I'm a little down about that today.
Technology's great, except when it sucks, you know?
Well, this was my fault, though. I was careless.
Yeah, well, it happens to the best of us. You know, I've done that before, indeed. I'm sure everybody in our audience has had an experience like that. That's why you know we're real people, truly.
Exactly.
Indeed. Chris, we will catch everyone up, including ourselves, on what is going on in the Middle East as the U.S. military intercepts multiple Iranian oil tankers in Asia. We got our man Steve Bucci joining us this afternoon at 4:25.
Exactly, and that clip we came in with, the Senate Republicans have passed their budget resolution. It was after a 6-hour, what they call a vote-a-rama, Tim. Final vote was 50-48. And the usual suspects did not support it. Senator Lisa Murkowski and Rand Paul joined all the Democrats opposing the measure. Chuck Grassley and Mark Warner did not vote. Mark Warner, of course, his daughter passed last week from juvenile diabetes. I think she was 30 years old. So now that measure goes to the House, where it may not pass. There's a lot of House Republicans that want to add other things onto it besides just funding DHS and Border Patrol. They want to add other things beyond the scope of immigration enforcement. Our own Jason Smith said, quote, "If you're going to pass a reconciliation bill, it needs to be one that addresses the concerns of the American people, and affordability is a concern I hear more than anything." So looks like there's going to be a debate between House Republicans and Senate Republicans. Senate Republicans just want to pass a narrow bill. The White House wants it to be a narrow bill, but the House Republicans want to add other things to it. So that will be the next debate here in the Congress.
And thank goodness we've got a congressman who joins us every Friday. So tomorrow we'll get the latest and hopefully greatest update on this recent attempt at the funding package for the unfunded parts of government and including other parts as well, as Chris just described. Congressman Bob Onder will join us tomorrow to break all of that down. Later on in the program at 4:45, we'll have the Chris's Corner.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, where is it on my sheet? Here it is. Why Delaware is losing corporate America. I got a business story on Chris's Corner. We'll talk about more liberal policies run amok and driving business out of once the state where everybody incorporated their business. My business is actually incorporated in Delaware.
Well, there you have it. It'll be an interesting story indeed. And we learned in law school that was because of their laws back then, that was the place that everybody did their incorporations, very friendly to corporations. But as we all know, these blue states, big or small, have tended to become less friendly towards the free market and towards the capitalist
And all
system.
they're doing is just opening it up for Nevada because those are the two states that people incorporate their businesses. If they don't want to pay a lot of corporate taxes, Delaware and Nevada. And I assume now that Nevada will get even more corporations incorporating there in their state.
I've heard this thing. I've got some friends. I won't call them out, but they have several friends of mine have registered their vehicles in Montana. That there's apparently a legal way, a very completely legal, above board way to do that. It's kind of like how you see all the Illinois plates running around in Missouri.
And that's illegal. You're doing that here.
I think that's illegal. But somebody said there is a legal way to register vehicles in Montana, and people do it because you don't pay all the fees and usages. So I haven't looked into it because, I always feel like I have a target on my back and I don't need to have any unforced errors. But I have a couple friends who driving around in Missouri here with Montana plates. So it must be some deal there with their law.
Which has always been kind of odd to me because, Illinois is known as a very high tax state, but they don't charge personal income taxes on vehicles. Personal property taxes. So a lot of folks in Missouri illegally register their cars in Illinois. You would think that Illinois would be pretty high tax, but that's one thing there where they were on the right track.
It is strange.
Very few things where they're on the right track.
You're right. They tax everything, and they tax it very highly, except they do not have a personal property tax on planes, automobiles, or farm equipment.
I'd love to know the history of that.
Yeah. Like, why do we have that? Why does Missouri have that? It seems like Missouri, we don't tax. So in Missouri, we don't tax things very high, but it seems like we tax everything. You know what I mean? Like, we seem to have little taxes on many things, and if you add them all up, you're like, oh, Missouri's really not that much of a low. I don't think Missouri's a low tax state. We are an individual low tax state, but we have a lot of taxes. Illinois doesn't tax everything like personal property, but the things they do tax, they tax them extremely high.
And I tell you, one jurisdiction where taxes are extremely high, where I live in University City, the sales tax is a whopping 10%.
Good grief.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's you know what? That's what it used to be that was what it was when I left New York in 1998. That shows you how long, that was long a time. That was 25 years ago, but it wasn't 100 years ago. 25 years ago, there were places in New York when I left that just shows how much things have changed, right, with the passage of time. When I left, people in New York were like, oh my gosh, we're hitting double digits on some of our tax rates. I don't even know. New York is probably, I would bet New York is 15 to 17%, depending on where you are up there.
Probably easily.
When you get your receipt from buying your deli sandwich. So you buy your $10 deli sandwich, and then you're probably paying, I don't know, $12, $13 total in taxes when you add all the taxes in. Yeah.
That's why people are leaving New York, because their hoagie is overtaxed.
Indeed. I mean, and everything, and everything is taxed. I still will enjoy visiting New York. I haven't been in a few years. I know you go up to the state of New York once a year at least. I haven't been in several years. I've been through it recently. I love to visit. Got a lot of great friends there. But I don't know how middle-class families make it. And I have a lot of friends still there. And they tell me we don't make it. We move out. We don't live in Manhattan. We don't live in the five boroughs. We keep moving further and further out. Pretty soon we're going to be in Western Pennsylvania. You know.
Two reasons why I would never want to live in New York. One, of course, is the high taxes, and one is the gun restrictions. I face that when we go every year to visit our in-laws. You cannot take a gun into the state of New York. Even if you are going to a relative's house or a friend's house and they say it's okay, you can bring your gun into my home, it's still illegal. You cannot have a gun in New York. It's very, very difficult to get a concealed carry permit in New York. They make it almost impossible. But New York does allow residents to have a shotgun. But other than that,
like Joe Biden said.
Other than that, you cannot have a weapon in New York City.
What did he say?
In New York.
Hit him with 2 barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always said that New York, if you're going to live there, especially now, and I think this is even truer now, the only way it's worth living there is if you're young, if you're young, don't have a care in the world, don't have a lot of expenses, maybe you're in college or right out of school, so that's fine. Or if you're older and independently wealthy.
Yeah, I was going to say extremely wealthy.
Extremely wealthy, and that way you can hire your own security. You don't have to deal with the riffraff and the drugs and the gang violence and the crime. The cost of living doesn't affect you. But look, even multimillionaires like Sean Hannity, have, and other people like him have left. It's so even for people who can afford it and don't have to deal with it, they're leaving New York in droves.
There's been stories. Robert De Niro is one. What's his name? Sandler. He is one. They are angry at Mondami. They voted for him, of course, but they're angry at him because he wants to put this surcharge on millionaires. They're kind of like, well, I didn't vote for that. Well, yeah, you did.
And the young leftists are mad at Mondami because he hasn't gotten everything done yet. So they're mad at him. They're calling. There's this new phrase I heard. They're saying he has been. It's the AOCification. They say, so the leftists now think AOC has gone mainstream, believe it or not, and that Mondami is following in her path because he has not gotten them all their free stuff yet.
Well, they are opening a city-run grocery store next year, 2027.
That should save everything. That should fix everything. This is what happens, and this is why the Democratic Party keeps moving further to the left. It's the leftists, they get louder and smaller and more crazy. And so, yeah, believe it or not, folks, they're not happy already with Comrade Mondami. All right, Steve Bucci at 425, Chris's Corner at 445. Did you tell us what you're talking about?
Yes, why Delaware is losing corporate America.
Yes, Delaware.
Go in depth on that at 445.
Indeed. 507, Speaker Stump Speech. Who's got your back? Guess what? It's not the Democrats. Very few, especially in the legacy media, talk about what was in the One Big Beautiful Bill, what others have called the working families tax cuts. I don't know that we've really dove in deeply on that. We've mentioned some things. There's a lot of stuff in that proposal that I thought I would dig a little deeper into, and that will be in today's Speaker Stump Speech. What is in the One Big Beautiful Bill? Who's got your back? 525.
I got to tell you one thing. It's Thursday, and I am really, really excited because tomorrow Joey is going to be reviewing the new Michael Jackson biopic, and I've seen some pretty good reviews on it in other publications and on other radio stations. But I'm really excited to hear about Joey's review, and he's going to do a hee-hee at the beginning of his review. You been practicing?
Of course.
All
and something pretty awful happened at my screening that you'll want to hear about. It was unruly. There was chaos.
Talking through
Friday
the movie?
at 5:45. You'll have to tune in.
You went to the Black Theater, didn't you?
It was unforgivable what happened, and you'll have to hear it to find out.
All right. That's a great tease, Joey.
Barely 24 hours from now, you'll hear all the epic drama of Joey V's movie reviews. Is it just called Michael?
It is just called Michael.
Okay.
But
Michael.
This is top secret. It's a part 1.
Ah.
So many people walked out and they said, where's the rest of the movie? Because it ends with his story will continue. And they say, what the heck?
It's over?
Yeah. And we'll get into this also, too. But I heard there is a little controversy because they didn't really touch on some of the more controversial aspects of his life in the later parts.
No one was touched in this one.
Yes, no one is touched. I'm not going to say any more.
At 525 today, we'll learn all about the Education Freedom Tax Credit. Is that a benefit to Missouri's families and students or not? And what does an investment in school choice yield for our public schools? Is it harmful or helpful to them? Dr. Patrick Graff, Senior Fellow at the nationally known American Federation for Children, AFC, will be joining us today to discuss all that. I believe that we're fans of school choice education reform, and we haven't talked about it in a while. So it'd be nice to get a little. It's been a little quiet in the Missouri legislature on that this year. I have a feeling that'll be a pretty hot topic next year. So we'll get a little refresher on school choice and education reform and what the education freedom tax credit has to do with all of that at 5:25. At 5:45, Chris, what do we got on tap
Yeah,
today?
you know, you've heard the old saying that if you want to be successful in life, that you need to bet on yourself.
Yes.
Well, I've got an example where betting on yourself is not always a good thing.
Bet on yourself or pass.
Yes.
At 5:45. Very
I think
interesting.
Joey knows what I'm talking about. Yeah, he's shaking his head. He knows. He knows what I'm talking about.
Very interesting tease indeed right there. All right, it's 4:20 p.m. Before we go to our break here, we have got a great event coming up next week. It's 1 week from today. Everyone wants to know what the heck is in the House Joint Resolution on the phase down and hopefully eventual elimination of Missouri state income tax. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for your family? What does it mean for your business? Can the plan work? How will the plan work? All of those questions will be answered at a town hall that our own Mike Ferguson will be emceeing and moderating next Thursday at 6:30 p.m. at the Lodge at Des Peres, featuring Missouri State Senator Nick Schroer and Missouri State Representative Ben Keithley. Tickets are free. All you got to do is register. Go to newstalkstl.com. That is brought to you by our partners at AFP Missouri and by Mo Tax Relief Now. There you have it. 4:21 in the PM on the big program. When we come back, what is the latest, maybe the greatest, regarding the conflict in the Middle East? Steve Bucci will break all that down and more when we return on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first solar forecast. It's a great day with breezy conditions and temperatures in the mid-80s. Overnight, we fall to 63 degrees, and we're in the mid-70s tomorrow. Also, watch overnight between 1 and 9 a.m. Some storms are looking likely. There is a very low severe wind risk. And then Friday, between 3 and 8, isolated storms are possible, with the highest chance for that being to the south. Beyond that, keep an eye on Monday. We have a first alert weather day. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Hey everyone, it's Todd Showalter with my buddy Joey V. Be sure to join me and Joey for the Right Mind Show, where we put the fun in our dysfunctional world. Saturdays at 5, right here at 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
You know, there's a lot of things that are critical to have in life, right? That you want to make sure you have the best of, right? Like your healthcare providers, like the people who take care of your homestead with all the things you got going on there and all the systems there. And how about real estate agents, right? You want somebody you can trust. You want somebody who's got the knowledge and the know-how of the region. You want somebody who's going to give you the best deal possible and work with you to get all of your dreams realized. That would be the Wallner Home Selling Team. They have been with us since the very beginning of News Talk STL. And, you know, we're not spring chickens anymore. 5th year anniversary this year. Very excited about that. I want to thank the Wallners for being with us all 5 of those years and hopefully for many more ahead. You can get a hold of them at 314-810-SOLD. The Wallner Home Selling Team of Rodney and Jen Wallner, also now including Jamie Allman. Yeah, he's doing a little side hustle with them as well. And let me tell you, the Wallners have perfected the craft of being real estate agents. They're full time all the time, and each of them. The beauty of the Wallners is they each have their specialty area, but they work so well together. They're a husband and wife team, all right? You get a unique family perspective. You get Rodney's know-how of the mortgage and the financing and all that issues. Jen knows homes like nobody I've ever met. She is so aware of what's going on all across this region. They're licensed in both Missouri and Illinois, so they can help you with real estate needs on both sides of the river. There's no obligation or any long-term commitment to whatever deal you set up with them, and it's going to be a deal that's going to be towards your interests, not theirs. They're going to guarantee to obtain you an offer because they have so many approved home buyers ready to rock and roll. Call them now for all of that excellent service, for all that excellent know-how at 314-810-SOLD. I would love for you to call the Wallner Home Selling Team, even if you just have questions about real estate in our region, even if you're not ready to quite go yet. give the Wallners a call. They're wonderful people. They'll be happy to speak with you. They'll give you a free listing consultation. And you will sell your home with this top-producing real estate team of Rodney and Jen Wallner. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump crab, Gulf shrimp, and you gotta try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
Hunters, now is the time to get ready. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors. Listen, don't wait until the season opener to dial that bow in. Whistle Pig offers paper tuning, bow adjustments, string replacement, and custom arrows. Plus, point and bear archery bows, crossbows from 10 Point and Raven, and accessories from all of the top brands. Archery season opens in September, but now is the time to practice and get ready. Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy, Missouri. Visit whistlepigoutdoors.com.
As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond. You can check them out at vincents.com, or better yet, see these lab-grown diamonds in person. You're going to be amazed at the beauty and the price. Vincent's Jewelers, vincentsjewelers.com.
This Steve Bucci update is brought to you by Hydrodynamics. For all your lawn irrigation, outdoor lighting, drainage, hardscapes, and turf management, online at hydrodynamicscorp.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Got out of town on a boat going to Southern Islands, sailing a reach before a following sea.
Today, new video released by the Pentagon shows the latest operation against Iran at sea. U.S. troops are seen rappelling from Navy helicopters onto a tanker the Pentagon says was transporting oil from Iran. It happened in the Indian Ocean, the second time an Iranian-linked ship has been seized by U.S. forces this week. It's part of the Trump administration's effort to crack down on anyone helping support Iran as it tries to enforce a naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. The president posted on social media today that he has ordered the U.S. Navy to shoot and kill any boat that is putting mines in the strait.
Steve Bucci, visiting fellow for special ops at the Heritage Foundation.
Oh, yes. What were you about to ask me?
Do you expect me to talk?
Mr. Bucci, how are you today?
I am doing well. How are you guys?
We're doing fantastic. We get to talk to you about military and foreign affairs, so it's a good day for us. Steve, you heard that report there. The president's not joking around. He said that if Iran puts mines into the area or they have boats there to blow them out of the water, the president has said that he's going to hold off attacking on Iran. He's not going to restart the war. He said that's going to happen until Iran submits a unified proposal to end the war. It seems like the two factions Iran are fighting with themselves, and we really don't know who we're negotiating with, do we?
No, we really don't. And I'm glad that the president is kind of taking the gloves off in some regards, obviously with, boats putting out mines. I'd like to see him expand that at least a little bit and put it at any boat that is moving around suspiciously. If it's armed, anything like that, they should be targets. In fact, I would go so far as to say they ought to make announcements through whatever means they can. All fishermen, small boat operators, stay out of the water for the next couple of weeks, and anything that's moving, we should sink it.
Steve, what is how are the Iranians still causing trouble in the Straits? I was under the impression that we had dismantled, destroyed most of their Navy. Do they still have some limited assets? Is this more of like guerrilla warfare at this point? And can we still maybe try and gain? Is there a possibility where we can gain better superiority over that specific section of the waters?
Yeah, look, we have, superiority by orders of magnitude over anything they have. These are not, larger scale naval vessels, warships. They're not even like PT boats from World War II. They're very small craft with a couple of people on them. In some cases, no people on them. They're operated remotely as a surface vessel drone, and but they can do damage to unarmed civilian ships, and so that's the problem there. And we need to dissuade them from doing this. This is almost all being directed by the IRGC. They have a naval component in the IRGC, and I think your depiction of it as guerrilla warfare, but on the water, is an apt one. It's difficult because those boats look a lot like fishing boats and civilian vessels that are just out in those waters. But I got to tell you, if there's any fishermen out there, they're really crazy. And if there's anybody just going out, like for a day off ride in their boat, they're really Looney Tunes for being out there. This is a war zone, and we need to treat it as such and stop this from happening. It's difficult to do because there's a ton of, it's a long coastline with a lot of places that small boats can operate from. But we need to find them. We need to turn loose the Apache helicopters and the A-10 aircraft to hunt down anything floating on that water that is not identified as friendly, and let it join the rest of the Iranian Navy at the bottom of the straits there.
Speaking with Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Steve, a Pentagon assessment that was shared with Congress says that clearing the Strait of Hormuz of mines could take up to 6 months. Why is that? Is it because they have placed so many of the mines, or they are hard to find?
Well, they are hard to find. There's lots of different kinds. There are some that are anchored to the bottom of the water, and they have proximity devices on them, so they set them for a certain depth, and then they can sense when there's a vessel above them and detonate themselves. They have others that just float around, but just below the surface. So anybody that comes near them goes off. Those move around with the currents. And then they have some that, like limpet mines, where they can use divers and they can go out and attach them to ships if they're moored somewhere. And those are then detonated either with timing or remotely, command detonated type thing. So there's a lot out there. The other issue, though, is the American Navy does not have dedicated minesweepers anymore. We retired all those ships because there's some capability in our smaller naval fighting ships, the destroyers and the frigates and the littoral combat ships, that can do some mine detection and then removal. But they're not like dedicated minesweepers. We kind of hoped that some of our allies who have that capability would have helped us, because they're the countries that get the oil that comes through the straits. But we're still working on that with our NATO allies right now, trying to get them to at least contribute mine detection and removal capabilities to help clear the international waters for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Speaking with Steve Bucci from the Heritage Foundation. Steve, there are talks underway today, right now in Washington, D.C., regarding another aspect of the conflict in the Middle East, that between Israel and Lebanon. The talks are being hosted by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. They include a lot of the high-ranking ambassadors from all of the involved nations, Lebanon, Israel, the U.S. Steve, they're claiming that the mid-April ceasefire is fragile, but it's holding. What types of discussions, Steve, do you think that could come out of this? Like, what is the way forward with this? Can we get a lasting peace in this so at least one front of this war is quieted, at least for now?
Well, that's really a tough one because for a long time, Hezbollah had way more capability to do mischief and to project power than the Lebanese government and their military did. Now that the Lebanese government is speaking with Israel, is desirous of a deal with Israel, working together against Hezbollah, because the Lebanese government is just tired of Hezbollah threatening them, threatening to depose the elected government, and they realize that the only reason Israel is in Lebanon blowing up buildings is because they're going after Hezbollah. They don't have any beef with the Lebanese government other than in the past the Lebanese government said, "Oh yeah, we'll disarm Hezbollah," and they've never been able to do it. So if they can get to that point where Hezbollah is either fully disarmed or at least made a non-significant player in the area, that would be an enormous win for peace, for the region, for stability there. Every time we can eliminate one of these evil proxies of the Iranian government and the IRGC, that's a win for peace and stability.
Steve, the media is making a lot of hay out of the recent departures of the Army Chief of Staff and Navy Secretary John Phelan yesterday. The Wall Street Journal was reporting that the Secretary of War and the President were not happy with John Phelan because he was not building back up our naval capability as fast as he wanted, particularly in ships. Your thoughts on that?
Well, President Trump has been pretty open and straightforward in that's one of his goals. He recognizes that our naval power has waned. During the Obama years, President Trump tried to turn it around, but did not really get it finished because it takes a long time to build ships, and they're very expensive. Obviously that was the instruction he gave to Secretary Phelan, and he wasn't meeting the standard with his efforts, or at least with the fruits of his efforts. So he's asked him to leave, and I'm kind of excited that the Undersecretary of the Navy is now the acting secretary. He seems to be, I don't know him personally, but boy, he's got a great rep. Almost everybody that's ever worked with him in the Navy say he is a rock star leader, and hopefully that will allow us to work with the shipbuilding companies and locations around the country, and maybe get our Navy beefed up to where it needs to be to handle the threats that they're facing out there in the world.
Steve, it seems like Hegseth has been quietly and sometimes not so quietly making some significant changes at the Pentagon. Is from what you've seen, the folks that you're aware of or have learned about, are we getting back to having war fighters running the War Department instead of the woke fighters?
Well, yeah, look, it'd be really nice to say that the senior leadership, uniformed leadership of the military was non-political. It's not. I mean, everybody above a 1-star is considered a political appointee. That's why they have to get by name approval from the Senate when they get proposed for a promotion to 2-star or above that. The civilians that get nominated are clearly political appointees. And over the years under Obama, President Trump made some changes, but not that many significant ones in his first term. And then Biden came in and they went whole hog on the woke kind of nominee. Under Lloyd Austin, the Pentagon and the military services were like tripping over themselves trying to appear as woke as they possibly could be. And it really caused a detriment to our capability to fight the wars of the nation. I'm not saying that the military appointees were bad people, but they were working on the priorities set by Obama and Biden, and there's a different set of priorities right now, and I think a better set of priorities right now. And, they could have changed the way they did business, or they could leave. And they, obviously were not changing to the president's liking. And whether the press or anybody else or the Democrat Party like it, military personnel especially all serve at the pleasure of the commander in chief. And if they do things or say things that he doesn't like, or they go against his policies, they have two options. They can either change what they're doing and saying, or they can leave. And that is not some absurd, terrible thing that's just happening under President Trump. I hope people remember when Harry Truman fired Douglas MacArthur at the going towards the wrap up of the Korean War. A massive national hero, but he would not shut his mouth when the president specifically told him, "Don't talk to the press, General," and he did anyway, and he was fired, and that was the right thing to do then. And if there's differences between any appointees in the Department of War and frankly the rest of the government and the president, and he fires them, that is legitimate. You may not like it if you agree with them, but that's not the way our system works.
Steve, the EU is now simulating NATO defense operations to test what its mutual assistance mechanism would look like without the U.S. Is that a good development?
It's been tried a bunch of times before, and the EU has failed every time. The EU is not a military organization, and they frankly try and ride on the back of existing NATO channels. In the past, they haven't done it because they thought America would leave. They did it because they were their pride was hurt that America had more authority within NATO because of our oversized contributions. This is now, particularly the French, they have always been desirous of finding a way so that they could be in charge, not America. Frankly, the French are not capable of being in charge. The last time we tried that was under Obama when they went into Libya, and he said, "Oh no, we'll lead from behind and let the Europeans lead it." And it was a disaster until America finally stepped forward and tried to bring it to an end. It still didn't end that well, as we know, with the attacks in Tripoli. But there is no such thing as leading from behind. That is an absurd concept, an oxymoron, really. And I don't have a lot of optimism that the EU, absent American involvement, is going to be able to put together much of a defense structure. And it's a waste of time. Stay with NATO. But NATO needs to pull its own weight. The individual members need to pay what they're supposed to pay. And when a NATO country asks for help, it should be the exception where they say no, not, well, we just don't like that guy, so we're not going to help him. That's an absurd way to run an alliance. I hope NATO does not fall apart. I think it's been a great asset to America and to all of its members. But, people need to learn how to play nicely.
That's Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, heritage.org, and on X, S. Bucci. Steve, thank you as always for your wisdom, my friend. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.
Sounds great, guys. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Thank you, sir. 443, Chris's Corner, why Delaware is losing corporate America. I'll tell you all about that next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL.
And you know it will.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Meteorologist Leah Hill with your first solar forecast. It's a great day with breezy conditions and temperatures in the mid-80s. Overnight, we fall to 63 degrees, and we're in the mid-70s tomorrow. Also watch overnight between 1 and 9 a.m. Some storms are looking likely. There is a very low severe wind risk. And then Friday, between 3 and 8, isolated storms are possible, with the highest chance for that being to the south. Beyond that, keep an eye on Monday. We have a first alert weather day. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Let me ask you this. Is 2026 the year you finally buy that home? If it is, Royal Banks, Missouri is the kind of place you want on your side. Their mortgage team doesn't just hand you a rate and send you on your way. They actually walk with you through the whole process, and that matters because there's no call center, no out-of-town decision maker. You're dealing with local people who know this market and are working for you. Now, maybe you're already in your home, but you've been thinking about making it better. Backyard upgrade, maybe a patio, maybe finally taking that family trip you've been putting off. That's where a home equity line of credit comes in. It gives you the flexibility to use the value you've already built in your home to actually enjoy your life a little more. It's simple, it's convenient, and it gives you peace of mind. Call today, 314-212-1500, or visit royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com to get started. Royal Banks of Missouri, investing in our communities, one client at a time. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hey, it's Susie Moore for Window World. Did you know that in just over the last 20 years, Window World of St. Louis has improved the look and thermal efficiency for over 80,000 customers in St. Louis? Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at newstalkstl.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, Gemini Wealth Group, Michael's Funeral Home, and Freddie's Market.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community, Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
Missouri's laws are clear. Unregulated gaming devices are illegal. Companies have been telling businesses that gray market machines are legal. That's wrong. Don't be scammed. If you have these devices at your business, you could be subject to criminal and civil penalties. Unplug and remove these devices today.
If you've been approached to host illegal gaming machines, call now. 800-523-1434 or visit ago.mo.gov. Sponsored by the Attorney General's Office.
Chris's Corner, brought to you by the Dental Link on Manchester and Baldwin or at dentallink.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
She's simply awesome.
An $81 billion Warner Paramount mega merger has now received shareholder stamp of approval, propelling a deal that could vastly reshape Hollywood and the wider media landscape closer to the finish line. But the deal still faces ongoing regulatory reviews, including from the U.S. Department of Justice. Warner said it expects to close the deal sometime during the third fiscal quarter.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
And I bet you the new Warner Brothers company will not be incorporating in Delaware. Why Delaware is losing corporate America? For over 100 years, Delaware was the undisputed incorporation capital of America. If you were a major company, if you went public, if you want serious investors, you incorporated in Delaware. That was just the rule. Why? Because Delaware offered something businesses crave more than almost anything else, and that is predictability. A specialized business court, stable corporate law, clear rules, professional judges. It was the gold standard. But now that empire is cracking. In just the last 2 years, more than 60 public companies worth over $3 trillion have left Delaware. Let that sink in. $3 trillion in market cap walking out the door. And these aren't obscure companies nobody's heard of. We're talking about names like Tesla, SpaceX, Coinbase, Dropbox, Roblox, and ExxonMobil. Even Exxon, one of the largest companies on earth, considered Delaware and said, no thanks. They chose Texas instead. Why? Because Delaware has become a victim of the same disease infecting blue states all across America: progressive legal activism and anti-business governance. Corporate leaders say Delaware's once-respected Court of Chancery has become increasingly unpredictable. They say shareholder lawsuits are exploding. They say trial lawyers are filing frivolous cases just to force settlements. They say judges are injecting uncertainty into routine business decisions. In plain English, companies no longer trust the legal system there. And once businesses stop trusting your courts, you're done. Because corporations can tolerate taxes, they can tolerate fees, they can tolerate regulation. What they can't tolerate is uncertainty. Businesses need to know the rules before they invest billions of dollars. They need confidence that judges will apply law, not improvise policy. That's why they're fleeing to places like Texas, Nevada, and Florida, states that are building business courts, tightening lawsuit standards, and openly saying, we want your business here. This is bigger than Delaware. It is another example of the great economic realignment happening in America. Capital is flowing away from states governed by ideology and towards states governed by practicality, away from places obsessed with ESG mandates, DEI bureaucracy, activist legislation, regulatory micromanagement, and towards states saying, come build here, grow here, invest here. Delaware became the corporate capital of America because it offered competence. It is losing that status because competence has been replaced by ideology. And here's the broader lesson. No institution stays dominant forever, not because of tradition, not because of reputation, not because that's how it's always been. When you stop delivering value, the market moves on. Delaware forgot that. Texas remembered it. And corporate America is voting with its feet. Delaware isn't losing companies because of geography. It's losing them because it stopped being the most trustworthy place to do business. And in America, when government becomes unpredictable, capital goes elsewhere. And that is Chris's Corner. We've talked about corporations leaving blue states, wealthy people, and people that want to save some of their money are leaving blue states. We're seeing an exodus, Tim.
They even have a name for it. I looked it up while you were talking. It's called Dexit.
Dexit, I like that.
Dexit. It's called Dexit, and it is exactly because of what you said, because of stricter Delaware court rulings regarding corporate governance, executive compensation, and less predictable legal environments.
Mm-hmm.
So that used to be the place. I learned that in law school. I was like, Delaware?
Yeah, that's why I thought it was weird.
And then we learned about it. We're like, well, Delaware, tiny little state, right? Well, it made a name for itself. It made itself a destination spot for corporate America. And that's what made Delaware great, right? And now they're losing like they're one big thing. So they're going to go down they're going to fall off the mountain with all the rest of the blue states that have pursued really bad policies when it comes to anything involving the free market and our capitalistic society.
Exactly. We know that there is a midterm election in November, and of course, history is not proving to be good for folks that are incumbents in the president's party. The House usually loses seats if your president is in power. The Cook Political Report is also suggesting that the Senate may be in danger. Georgia and North Carolina have moved out of the toss-up status to lean Democratic. Ohio is leaning Republican squarely now into toss-up territory. And Nebraska is becoming competitive as well. But I tell you one state where the Democrats will not be competitive. They've got a complete crazy down in Texas who is running against John Cornyn, Democrat. His name is James Tallarico. Tim, he said that James Tallarico said God is non-binary.
Non-binary, yeah.
And says displaying the Ten Commandments is violence. He said displaying the Ten Commandments in public schools is an act of violence against Christianity and Judaism. He said, because I haven't yet had a chance to comment on this, allow me to stop right here and announce my gratitude towards Texas Democrats for nominating James Tallarico instead of Jasmine Crockett. She is out there. He is a complete nut, but he says that God is non-binary. And I think the good folks down there in Texas aren't going to go for that. They're about gods and gun down in Texas. And he even, Texas is known for barbecue down there. He even had something negative to say about Texas barbecue. So he's definitely going to lose votes in Texas, saying that God is non-binary and Texas doesn't have the best barbecue.
See, when you attack things that are part of your state's identity, that's where you lose the casual voter, right? The voter who's like, well, I vote Democrat because my parents did, so I'll go vote Democrat. And then they hear that this guy hates barbecue. And that'll move them. That'll literally move those people. And they thought, the Democratic Party thought it was getting the less of the crazy with Tallarico. And all this guy had to do was smile and shake hands and say, affordability. And instead, he gets caught in these verbal traps where he brings up really stupid things off the rails about God being non-binary. And he creates a negative story for himself out of nowhere. We call that like unforced errors.
And he's a dream candidate for Democrats because for years now they have lost the evangelical vote, people that believe in God. Well, he is a man that went to seminary, but he's a very liberal Christian, as obviously by this comments about God being non-binary. And when he has exposed some of his beliefs, it shows how wackadoodle he is. And I see whoever wins that primary between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton, I don't see Tallarico.
Now they win.
I don't see Tallarico doing very well, to be honest with you.
And every cycle, the Democrats declare that they're going to take on Texas and they're going to make strides in Texas, and they're so adamant that they're going to do something, and then they fall flat on their faces. I hope they keep doing it because they haven't figured out that all you need to do is get a guy like Tallarico, who looks like he's out of central casting, and don't let him say stupid things.
Seminary graduate.
Just keep doubling down on the dumbness.
You remember the former great white hope was Beto O'Rourke, the Irish Mexican.
What a goofball.
Yeah, he is a goofball. He seems to have fallen off the face of the earth.
He's done.
Thank God. All right, we've got the speaker's stump speech coming up,
which is Who's Got Your Back? We're going to dig deep into the one big, beautiful bill.
And then we're going to speak with Dr. Patrick Graff. He's a senior fellow at the American Federation for Children. We're going to talk about the Most Scholars Program and a court ruling in favor of the Most Scholars Program versus the MNEA. And then at the end of the show, betting on yourself is not always a good thing. I'll tell you more at the end of the show. You are listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester and McKnight in Rock Hill.
There's something magical about walking into your backyard and knowing your family is completely safe and secure. Hi, I'm Sean Long, owner of STL Fence Works. That's the feeling my team and I have been creating for metro area families for more than 50 years. Whether you're adding your first fence or finally creating the outdoor sanctuary you've always wanted, we offer premium vinyl and stunning ornamental options, all designed around your family's specific needs and lifestyle. While other companies struggle with supply delays and rising costs, we've always proudly used all American-made materials, which means better pricing and faster installation for you. Our experienced craftsmen exemplify our motto, your satisfaction is our passion. From Warrenton to Wildwood, your neighbors trust us because we live here too, and we care about your project as much as you do. Right now is the golden time to build with flexible financing options and a commitment to completing your fence on time and on budget. Visit stlfenceworks.com.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
News, analysis, opinion. This is News Talk STL. HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Keith Peters in Washington. Wildfires in the southeast are burning thousands of acres and forcing residents to flee.
Wildfires are tearing through areas of Florida and Georgia, sending smoke that's blanketing cities hundreds of miles away. Governor Brian Kemp declared a state of emergency for 91 counties in South Georgia, where the two largest fires have destroyed more than 50 homes and forced hundreds of residents to evacuate. Denise Stevens was grabbing a free meal at the Twin Rivers Baptist Church in Hortense, Georgia.
I don't know if I still have a house standing or not.
Pastor Rusty Bryan says they're doing what they can to help.
We had somebody say, hey, let's do something, and we just started cooking.
Officials say the wildfires are being fueled by strong winds, drought conditions, and fallen debris still on the ground from Hurricane Helene in 2024.
Correspondent Jennifer King reporting. Wednesday night's debate between California's 6 leading candidates for governor got heated.
The debate, live streamed on The Hill, brought together the 6 leading candidates for California governor. The 2 Republicans, conservative commentator Steve Hilton and Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco.
Well, we're never going to know if our elections are secure because when law enforcement does legitimate investigations into the allegations, it's stopped by our current Democrat one-party rule in California.
The 4 Democrats, billionaire Tom Steyer, San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, Javier Becerra, the Biden administration's Health and Human Services Secretary, and U.S. Representative Katie Porter.
What I would do differently than Governor Newsom is fund homelessness prevention.
I'm Donna Border.
President Trump says Israel and Lebanon have agreed to extend a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah by 3 weeks after talks at the White House on Thursday. Trump said the meetings between Israel and Lebanon's ambassadors to the U.S. went very well. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 179 points. More at townhall.com.
Hey, if you're hearing my voice, chances are you're either worried about a parent living alone or you are that parent. And you know your family worries about you too. Either way, there's a company that finally got senior safety right. Connected Caregiver. Connected Caregiver is everything you knew about alert devices, fall detection, emergency button, GPS, reimagined for today. There's a small wearable that alerts your family's phone the moment something happens. Inside your home, discrete sensors, no cameras, no microphones, just motion sensors have you covered even when you're not wearing it. No movement for hours, your loved ones will know. For the kids, you go from hoping everything's okay to knowing it is. And for you, you stay in your home on your terms while giving your precious family the peace of mind they've been asking for. That's not losing independence, that's keeping it. Visit ccgoffer.com to see if you qualify for a free device. It takes 2 minutes. That's ccgoffer.com, ccgoffer.com. Do it today.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first solar forecast. It's a great day with breezy conditions and temperatures in the mid-80s. Overnight, they fall to 63 degrees, and we're in the mid-70s tomorrow. Also, watch overnight between 1 and 9 a.m. Some storms are looking likely. There is a very low severe wind risk. And then Friday, between 3 and 8, isolated storms are possible, with the highest chance for that being to the south. Beyond that, keep an eye on Monday. We have a first alert weather day. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. This year, America turns 250, and News Talk STL is celebrating our nation's semi-quincentennial all year long. News Talk STL, #1 for live and local Soros-free talk, with proud supporters of our 250th birthday celebration. Doghouse Bar and Grill, Augusta Chamber of Commerce, and Ruthie's Family Restaurant. 250 years strong, and we're just getting started. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey folks, the Clayton Sleep Institute and my friend Dr. Ojal back supporting free common sense conservative radio. ClaytonSleep.com, treating the full range of adult and pediatric sleep disorders from sleep apnea to insomnia, restless leg syndrome, periodic limb movement, and narcolepsy. What an awesome place. New comfy setting for the sleep lab. ClaytonSleep.com, 314-645-5855. Better sleep, better life.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
It's almost as if, we've forgotten on the Democratic side that the real enemy, the real threat, the real danger is Iran and its proxies too. And, every single Democrat, we want to break Iran. We make sure they never acquire a nuclear bomb as we are approaching that 60 day of the war powers in the law. Iran must be so excited by the American media and the Democratic parties, the way it's like, as long as we can hang on for 60 days, more and more people continue to vote against, the Trump administration to end the Iranian regime. And so why can we be this close and allow them to acquire a nuclear bomb? So that's my real concern.
Well, with the departure of Manchin and Sinema, John Fetterman seems to be the only voice of reason in the U.S. Senate. He's the only one that seems to have Americans' backs when it comes to issues in the Middle East. But the rest of his party doesn't give a rip. The subject of today's Speaker's Stump Speech: who does have your back when it comes to America?
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Well, that would be the Republican Party. That was probably the worst-kept secret for you to learn the answer to that of today's question for the Speaker's Stump Speech. And look, the Republicans definitely don't do everything right all of the time. But when you're in a binary, we're in a binary system. We do not have a parliamentary system in America. Yes, we have multiple political parties, but only 2 of them generally, with very few exception, win pretty much all of the races. Now, I know that's aggravating to a lot of Americans. I know a lot of folks who tend to be more they're multi-issue Americans, and they're like, well, I like generally the Republicans on all these issues, but I don't like them on 1 or 2, and that's why I kind of like the Democrats, but I don't have a person that represents that. However, I think on the whole, when you look at the folks who are trying to preserve the American dream for future Americans, it has to be within the Republican Party. We can look at the legislation that people support and promote and file, and yes, actually pass. For the first time in a long time, the folks up on Capitol Hill, they did pass a bill last year. Many of you, well, not you all, you're an educated audience, but I bet many of your friends, colleagues, neighbors, coworkers, they've probably completely and utterly forgotten about the One Big Beautiful Bill, otherwise known as the Working Families Tax Cut. Now, I hope people are reminded, or I don't know if they'll be reminded. I think they may wonder during this tax season why things may seem to be a little easier for them. Why are their refunds a little higher? Why is their tax burden a little lower? It wasn't because of the Democrats. There's very few Democrats, and I don't even know if Fetterman would fit into this box or not, who have any sort of fiscal sanity or sense left. Again, some Republicans up on Capitol Hill, many in Jefferson City, many other state capitals, they tend to be big spenders too. There is no shortage of big government types in the Republican Party versus the Democrat. But on the whole, a lot of the leadership, the conservative base in the Republican Party, still does want to do things like let Americans keep more of their money. Government gets its power from the tax dollars that it derives. So the smaller and more limited that you can make government, the less power it's going to have. What are some of the things in the working families tax cut that many of you may not have known about in the first place because most of the legacy media doesn't tell you about it, or you haven't learned along the way? Well, according to the U.S. Treasury Department itself, over 53 million Americans have already claimed in the very first year that these were available at least one of the tax cuts in the working families tax cut bill. You know, when we say tax cuts, that sounds very esoteric, right? It's like, well, what does that really mean? Well, here's what it means. How about no tax on tips? There are, in the service industry that we're in, which I think is only going to get larger in the future, many, many, many millions of Americans rely on tips, rely on that kind of bonus compensation to round out their paycheck each and every week, each and every pay period, each and every month. Over 6 million Americans, not an insignificant amount, have already claimed the no tax on tips provision with an average of, get this, over $7,100. For working class, middle class Americans, that is a lot of real money. That can help make sure that the mortgage payments, the auto payments get paid, that there's money left over to put into savings accounts or accounts for people's children to go to college. On an even larger scale, over 25 million workers have claimed the no tax on overtime. So I love the fact that these numbers are this high. So at least that many Americans, well, they've at least hired accountants or lawyers or gone to, the local tax preparers, and they're at least aware that these exist because over 25 million have claimed that no tax on overtime with an average deduction, again, of a significant sum of over $3,100 per individual. Seniors tend to be pretty educated on fiscal matters. A lot of seniors have to, be careful of their what they spend money on. Many are on fixed incomes. Over 30 million seniors have claimed what's called the enhanced deduction for seniors. Get this. It's an average deduction per senior of over $7,500. Again, this is not for the wealthy. This is not for the elitist upper crust. That's real money for middle-class seniors who are very cognizant every month, I'm sure, of every dollar in and every dollar out. How about the Trump accounts? Those are for kids. Those are, to kind of not have to rely on cradle-to-grave government. Maybe be in charge of your own destiny. Put a little money away. Let it sit. Let it grow for a couple decades, and you'll have a lot more in there. If you look at the stock market, you will have a lot more in there if it just continues on the track it's been on for the last couple hundred years when the child becomes an adult. Over 5 million Trump accounts have already been opened. And check this number out. Over 34 million families have claimed what is now the enhanced child tax credit. Every single congressional Democrat, because of party politics, voted against these historic tax cuts. I know that on the state level, there is a lot of Democrats that support, at the very least, that child tax credit program because Democrats file that actually in the state of Missouri. So our Democrats here are not as completely crazy as the ones yet on Capitol Hill. No relief for working families, say Democrats. And, it seems that's why perhaps working families are starting to move away from the Democratic Party. They're returning to that cyclical cycle of becoming Trump Democrats like we had the Reagan Democrats back in the 80s. And there's a lot of organizations that are actually paying attention to this. The Affordable Housing Tax Credit Coalition talks about the millions of people that have been assisted by this. An organization called CURE, Working Families Tax Cut, set to bring historic tax fund season. And the articles go on and on. Tax filing is now a little bit easier. It's a little more efficient. It's a little more simpler. And because of the Trump accounts, people are actually now able to think about, have some hope that their children may have a significant amount put away over the next couple decades for their future. This is all in the part and parcel of the theme of the hand up versus just the government handout. You teach a person to fish, and they can feed themselves for a life. You give a person a fish, they eat for the day, right? You teach a person to fish, give them that hand up, and they can actually learn how to take care of themselves and their business, themselves and their families for life. That's the upward mobility. That's the American dream. Seems like Republicans at least still have that core principle in stock, and they're actually passing legislation to prove it. Democrats instead want you to sit around on the couch, eat by a cradle-to-grave existence of doing little to nothing. And that's the Speaker's stump speech for today.
You know, Senator Fetterman either knows his Pennsylvania constituency better than his naysayers, or he is angling to be a one-term senator. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. Which one do you think?
I don't know. And see, he's not. He doesn't have on certain issues. We love him. He's great.
Yeah.
On others, folks, he's still very much a Democrat. So I don't see him switching parties. You know, I don't think he'd ever do that. On the fiscal side, like I said, I just don't know that he's there. Manchin and Sinema never switched, but were very Fetterman-like, or maybe he's emulating them. Isn't it nice to have that, thank goodness, at least that one voice of reason, because it does stop some of the craziest of the crazy that we could see. I don't know what he's up to. I don't know that I've ever seen a politician make such a 180, and especially as to what we think of them, right? Like, we used to think Fetterman was, you know, he had the stroke, and it just looked like he was down and out, and he was going to go away, and he had some loony ideas, and now he's like the voice of reason.
Yeah, we've seen Republicans do this. We've seen people that have been Republicans that turn liberal and seems to support the Democratic policies. You don't see too many of the Democrats doing that. You've only seen who you mentioned, Manchin and Sinema, and now John Fetterman. Last week when we had Lenny McAllister on, who's a talk show host at KDKA there in Pittsburgh, he mentioned how a lot of people in Pennsylvania are not trusting Fetterman because he started off as very liberal, very Democratic. Now he seems to be more middle of the road, more center right. Lenny's on the ground there. He's saying that he may have a problem with that because people don't know exactly what does he stand for.
He's unique. We're going to see if somebody as unique as that can survive a primary. If he was in a bluer state, probably not. As we've talked about, Pennsylvania still seems to be a little purplish.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. I'll have to ask my I have another one of my mom's cousins, Bob. I'm going to see him next week in Florida. He's got a home down there. He lives in Pittsburgh. He's from Pittsburgh, and tons of family there. And he has a home in Florida as well. And I'm going to see him next week when I'm down there for the election conference we're going to. And Cousin Bob was in manufacturing and business his whole life. So he's really plugged into like the business community and the Pittsburgh region. And he's a conservative guy. I'm going to ask him what he thinks about Fetterman. It'll be interesting to see what the everyman thinks.
And, I always say the first rule for any politician is self-preservation. So I can't see, unless he purposely wants to be a one-term senator, I can't really see him blowing up his Senate career like this. So maybe he knows something that maybe we don't.
Maybe he's done enough polling that he thinks he can thread the needle with the right amount of middle-of-the-road crossover voters who kind of appeal to that. He's very much an old-school, blue-collar dude.
And I never thought I would say that about him because he comes from a wealthy family. He's not poor. And he went to Harvard.
Right.
He grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth and was very, very liberal when he was in state government.
Yes.
He campaigned as a liberal, as a Senate candidate, and now he's done a 180 almost.
He just likes to wear hoodies.
Yeah. Strange.
We've got a big show to still bring to you here this afternoon. Going to have Dr. Patrick Graff on at 5:25, joining us in just a few moments. Senior fellow at the American Federation for Children. Yeah, we haven't talked about the Most Scholars Program, school choice, education reform, because it hasn't been the hottest of topics here in the state. But a lot of states are moving that way, and that was one of the three things that Governor Kehoe has consistently mentioned on the campaign trail and in his State of the State speeches is law and order, tax relief, and school choice. And so I have a feeling we may be getting back to that in a big way next legislative session. So we're going to talk to Dr. Patrick Graff about the latest and greatest regarding the National Education Freedom Tax Credit and how that can benefit Missouri families.
I mean, that's the thing that people on the left and the right want. They want good schools to educate their children, and they want to be safe when they leave their homes. I mean, that's the basics.
For sure. And at 5:45, bet on yourself.
Yes.
Or pass?
Yes. Betting on yourself is not always a good thing, and I'm going to have an example of that at 5:45.
Not always a good thing.
Joey already knows what it is, but he'll keep it a secret, I hope.
Gamble, 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 baby.
Oh, you gave it away.
No.
Kinda.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right.
That'll be at 5:45. And we have three events coming up over the next 3 months. Big event next week at the end of the month in April. That's the tax town hall, sponsored by AFP Missouri, Mo Tax Relief Now, and us. Mike Ferguson will be emceeing and moderating. State Senator Nick Schroer, Representative Ben Keithley will be there. 6:30 p.m. Go to newstalkstl.com. May is the big Missouri Right to Life banquet gala featuring Riley Gaines. I heard the interview this morning on Mike Ferguson's show. Really good interview. I really like Riley. She's what an amazing young lady. Mom now, speaks from the heart with a lot of passion. You're not going to want to miss that event. That's in May. That's May 20th. And details on that at newstalkstl.com. And then in June, we've got the, I always know this event because there's a giant board behind Chris that I'm staring right at. The St. Charles County Executive Primary Debate live broadcast. Chris and I will be on scene. We'll be broadcasting our show. We're like the pregame from 4 to 6. And then from 7 to 8:30, live broadcast of the debate itself between Bill Eigel, Steve Ellman, and Jason Law. That's at the Lindenwood University, brought to you by News Talk STL and the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise. So huge events the next few months. And then we've got a big anniversary celebration. 5 years on the air as of this July. Remarkable, amazing. Thank you all out there for helping us.
And before we go to break, I got to give you a shout-out. My buddy Tom Wilson, Blue Leader, as he is affectionately known, said you ran a great center-right meeting today. So he wanted me to tell you that on air.
We had fun. Thank you so much. Chris, you should come down sometime. There's free pizza.
You got Chick-fil-A again?
We have.
Used to be Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, but see, the Soda Museum has their own
Oh,
kitchen.
yeah, you're at the Soda Museum
yeah.
now. Okay.
They do have these little delicious
we've had them when we had an event down
chicken
there.
bites.
Yeah.
Chicken bites, T-Ravs. It's St. Louis food. We have chicken bites, T-Ravs, mozzarella sticks, and pizza.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I will
pizza.
be there.
It's really good.
I just
stuff.
forget when they are, honestly.
I'll have to send you a text next month. It's a fun event. Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. You can watch us and listen to us. Who wouldn't want to do both? Check that out there and chime in and participate in the program. I see quite a few of all y'all are on our Facebook stream. We got a bunch of people chatting. Hello to Jeff and to Lisa, Scotty, and the others. We'll be right back talking school choice, education reform, and more with Dr. Patrick Graff of the American Federation for Children when the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show rolls on. 1019, 94.1, News Talk, STL.
You know I will be coming home. And when that foghorn whistle blows, I gotta hear it. I don't have to fear it.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
And together we will go into the mystic.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first solar forecast. It's a great day with breezy conditions and temperatures in the mid-80s. Overnight, we fall to 63 degrees, and we're in the mid-70s tomorrow. Also watch overnight between 1 and 9 a.m. Some storms are looking likely. There is a very low severe wind risk. And then Friday, between 3 and 8, isolated storms are possible, with the highest chance for that being to the south. Beyond that, keep an eye on Monday. We have a first alert weather day. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Hey there, Chris Cooper here, Serenity Wealth Management, your financial friend and host of the Serenity Wealth Now Show. I've got special guests joining me, Jem Brennan, this weekend with McKelvey Homes. We're going to talk a little bit about one of the biggest, most important American dreams we have, and that is home ownership. So tune in this Sunday and learn what it looks like to move up to McKelvey. Check us out Sunday mornings, 9 a.m., right here on Newstalk STL or on Serenity Wealth Now social media outlets. We'll see you then.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. Looking for a great place to play golf and host your next event? Sugar Creek Golf Course in High Ridge is more than just exceptional golf. Our clubhouse is the perfect spot for private parties, family get-togethers, and unforgettable celebrations. Make your special day even better with our welcoming atmosphere and outstanding service. Visit sugarcreekgolfcourse.com for more information. That's sugarcreekgolfcourse.com, where great golf and great memories meet. sugarcreekgolfcourse.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Don't touch the sleeping pills, they mess with my head. Dredging of great white sharks, swimming in the bed.
4,000 Missouri families no longer have to worry about losing their school scholarships. A Cole County judge denied Missouri National Educators Association's attempt to stop the state's Missouri Scholars Program.
School choice advocates are celebrating as a Cole County judge throws out a lawsuit that was trying to get rid of a program that uses public money for private school scholarships. MNEA tells me they're working on an appeal to try to get this lawsuit taken up by the Missouri Supreme Court.
Oh, they're so horrible. Let's talk to Dr. Patrick Graff about that litigation and lots more in the education reform school choice space. Next, here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, Dr. Patrick Graff with the American Federation for Children joining us now. Dr. Graff, thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Yeah, great to be with you.
So, Dr. Graff, I mean, are the opponents of school choice so terrified about their losing control over their monopoly they can't even let people participate in things that the legislature duly passed? I mean, can't we just let people educate their children as they see fit with their own tax dollars? Or people that want to help them?
It's a great question. I mean, this lawsuit was really trying to somehow question that the legislature could not appropriate money to a program that the legislature had previously passed and would like to expand and offer this opportunity to more kids. And so, I think we were kind of baffled that they thought that this had any chance of success when there are kids benefiting from this program, and to go after it in this way would literally kick kids out of their school if it were to succeed. But, fortunately, the court saw the right side of this decision.
Dr. Graff, why did the teachers union, why did their argument fail, and why did the court reject it?
It was really interesting. One of the core arguments that this is the Missouri affiliate of the National Education Association, the teachers unions, they came to the program and said, taxpayers should be concerned because we think that spending money on this private school choice program, MO Scholars in Missouri, is going to harm the public schools. And so there is harm to the taxpayers by creating the scholarship program, and therefore you should rule this as not permissible for the state to spend extra money on. And, this was even before I had a recent research report come out that pretty comprehensively debunked this on the other side, that actually these school choice programs are really beneficial for public schools But even before you get there, I mean, it defies logic because the MO Scholars Program, you're spending less than half in terms of per pupil spending per kid, somewhere around $7,800, $8,000 or less to educate a kid with a scholarship in a private school versus upwards of $17,000 that's being spent per pupil per year, all in for Missouri public school students. So, it really kind of defied logic, and I think the courts saw right through that.
Yeah, Dr. Graff, as you said, it just makes sense. And would you help our listeners step back to like kind of the national view here for a moment? Even though Missouri does have some of these programs, the ESA program, most scholars, some charter schools, we're making strides, but we're nowhere near as robust in this area as other states, right? I believe there's well over a dozen states now that are at or approaching what's called universal school choice. Would you explain what that is and talk about the movement across the country?
No, that's right. I mean, we've really seen a transformational move across the country towards these universal eligibility private school choice programs. So that means that every kid in the state, regardless of where you live, how much money you make, and whether you might have a child that has special needs or not, you have access to a private school choice program. There's actually 17 states now that have universal eligibility. So right there in the Southeast, Florida is among them. It has the largest private school choice program in the country with over 500,000 kids benefiting from one of theirs, including over 150,000 kids with special needs that have been attracted to the state for that particular program. And, Missouri is making great strides. I think Governor Kehoe has really championed this issue, and he has been pushing full bore ahead to say we need to be adding more dollars to this program because there's demand. Parents are signing up, and we're seeing that right now. It's application season for private schools, and people want access, but the funding isn't there. So I think that's part of what's going on right now.
Dr. Graff, critics say school choice drains money away from public schools. What does your research actually show?
Yeah, so I just put out a new research synthesis that you can find through our website, federationforchildren.org, or if you search school choice or school competition, there's an article on EdNext about this, where I really put these two research literatures head to head. So there's this one research literature that says if you spend more money on public schools, you're going to get some better academic outcomes. And all the folks who go to the state capitol and say, we need to be spending more money on public schools, will go and cite this research. And the problem is that, yes, it can have small incremental gains, but it's often a fairly modest effect for a huge cost. And on the other side, there's also this really robust research literature on when you pass private school choice, what happens to the public schools who now have to compete? So this competition effects of private school choice. And, what we found in Florida, so looking over the first 15 years of the school choice program in Florida, as that scaled up from 15,000 kids to 100,000 kids in the program, the public schools in those high competition areas, this is more than half of the kids in the state, actually improved in terms of their academic outcomes. So higher reading and math scores, they had fewer disciplinary incidences, and also fewer absences. And so just comparing apples to apples, same kids, same period of time, same amount of money, if we went back in time and said, let's just spend all this money that we spent on the private school choice program over these 15 years and just instead, let's use the best research on the school spending side, just dump it into the public school system, you would actually get effects that were 11 times less using their best research if you had just taken the school spending route. So you would have had to spend over $1,400 per kid per year, as opposed to about $127 per kid per year in public schools. So this is for public school student achievement. So really remarkable cost effectiveness that we found from that program, that investing in private school choice actually improved the public schools as well.
Speaking with Dr. Patrick Graff, he's a senior fellow at the American Federation for Children, federationforchildren.org. Dr. Graff, I want to follow up on that. I have a lot of family in Florida, a lot of friends and colleagues, and I've heard the same exact thing from them. Isn't Florida an example of a very mature ecosystem that has a multitude of school choice options? And people told me that, after you beat all the, rhetorically, beat all the naysayers and the haters into submission, Florida's at a point where, like, okay, everybody, whether you're public school, private school, homeschool, virtual school, all the different school options, you come to the realization that this is here, it's not going anywhere, it's the world we have. And so now everyone competes within that system. And my understanding is Florida has risen dramatically. Florida children have risen dramatically because of where they are in the maturity process of this ecosystem of school choice. So where their test scores, who used to be at nearly the bottom of the barrel, are now near the top.
Yeah, that's right. And I think this is one of the big puzzles that they're finding out in states that have no private school choice programs. I think there are some states that have taken this full-on school spending approach and just saying, let's listen to these folks who are saying, just put more money in and see if we get the results. And, Oregon, for example, has taken this route. And over the last 10 years, they've increased their education spending by upwards of 80% in inflation-adjusted terms. And they have actually gone down in the NAEP rankings as a result of that. And this past administration in 2024, they're actually 50th out of 50 states in terms of their academic outcomes for kids, despite having no private school choice programs and a ton more spending for public schools. So I think what Florida really demonstrates is when you have a dynamic education system in which you can align incentives to drive towards academic outcomes, you can do that in a much more cost-effective way than just trying to spend the problem away.
Dr. Graff, let's get down to brass tacks. Why are the teachers' unions and teachers in general, why are they so against school choice?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's a direct threat to their power structure. I think, what we've seen across the country is that, a lot of parents, regardless of where your kid goes to school now, really likes the idea of having that option open to you. And I think a lot of people forget that. It's not just families in private schools who care about school choice. It's also parents in public schools who say, one day I might not be having a good experience in my school. My kid might be getting bullied. My kid might be having some academic problems that are not being fixed here. And I want that option open to me, even if I still attend the public school for the most of my child's educational career. And, the union is really wanting the money to stay in that system because that's where their power comes from. That's where the political spending that results from union dues comes from. And so, this distributing of the education system through these different choices, like in Florida, you have your private schools, magnet schools, charter schools, open enrollment. You have a really robust system. You don't have the same reach there for that organization. And so I think they're worried about losing that position.
Dr. Graff, I want to talk about the Education Freedom Tax Credit, which I believe is a federal scholarship tax credit, and in a multitude of states have adopted that. Would you explain that to our listeners and whether or not here in Missouri they can take advantage of that in any way?
Yes, I think this is one of the most exciting things happening in the school choice movement right now, and a lot of folks don't know about it yet. So this was a new education tax credit passed as a part of the One Big Beautiful Bill last summer, the tax bill. And as a part of this new tax credit, anyone in the country can donate up to $1,700 to a scholarship organization and receive a 1-to-1 tax credit off of your federal taxes. So instead of sending that money to Washington, you can send it to a local organization in Missouri, in St. Louis, that is going to give scholarships to kids who really need that. And I think the beautiful thing about that is it's not just private school students who are eligible for this, for private school tuition scholarships. It's also public school and charter school students who might need scholarships for tutoring or special education services or even transportation, which can be a huge barrier sometimes for other options like charter schools if it's further away. So I think it's really exciting, and Governor Kehoe has opted in for the state of Missouri, and so Missouri is in. Every state has to decide whether they're going to be in or not, and 30 states have already said that they're going to participate. So I'm very excited. 2027 is when it begins, that taxpayers there can begin to donate and choose to keep that money in Missouri for Missouri students.
Dr. Graff, studies and polls have shown recently that African Americans are the biggest demographic of people choosing to homeschool their children or big supporters of school choice. Does American Federation for Children have any research on this?
Yes, I think what we have seen from our polling is that school choice is overwhelmingly popular with across the demographic group. So whether white, Black, Hispanic, I think this is a real problem in some ways for the Democratic Party, who at a political level opposes these programs in large part, but their constituency favors them, large parts of their constituency, including Black and Hispanic families. And, they're the ones that are most closely affected by this. If you're in a school system that isn't serving your kids well and you might have a church or another community organization that says, hey, we're a nonprofit. We would love to start a school and serve kids. What is keeping them from doing that? And oftentimes it's this kind of government school monopoly system. So many states have made that possible. And what we see in states where you do open up opportunity is the blossoming of new schools. You have lots of new private schools, including kind of these smaller micro school, really interesting school ideas where you might have 20 to 30 kids that can be started in a small community, often taught by a former public school teacher, or homeschool co-ops that can receive some funding from these programs as well. So I think it really opens up a lot of innovation and opportunity for these families.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Dr. Graff, when you're talking school choice, there's in today's technologically advanced world, these are options that can be provided to students. We often focus on the urban, suburban areas because those seem to be the biggest school districts that get the most press, usually bad. But are even schools in our suburban, exurban, and rural areas, some of them are challenged as well. But with the rise of technology getting better every single moment, we can bring school choice options to pretty much any child anywhere in the state, right?
No, that's right. I think this is one of the great innovations of what they call education savings accounts. And this is kind of a system where instead of the funding just being available for school tuition, you can use it for all kinds of other educational expenses as well. And MO Scholars is set up that way in Missouri, where let's say you're living in a more rural area and you would love to have access to a class for a foreign language or for physics. And it's really hard to get access to that as a home education student or in your private school, even in a rural area. You could actually go and purchase that class online using these funds and have access to those educational opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise. So I think this is a huge boon to kids across the state, regardless of whether you're in a more urban or rural area.
Dr. Graff, I don't know if this is in your organization's wheelhouse, but we saw during the pandemic with kids being involved with remote learning that a lot of them got very behind in their studies, a year or two in some cases, and there were people saying that they weren't ever going to catch up. Have these kids that were affected by the pandemic and lost that schooling, have they caught up? Have the numbers shown that?
We're not there yet, unfortunately. So we have regained some ground, but overall achievement is still down from where we were in 2019. So here we are almost 7 years later this spring, and we are still back behind where we were in 2019. And, I think one of the remarkable studies that I cite in my recent report that I put out was several of these large-scale evaluations of the ESSER money. So this was the largest one-time investment in public schools from the federal government ever. So we earmarked $190 billion for public schools across the country throughout the pandemic period. And so they evaluated how much did that do to help improve academic achievement during the pandemic. And the answer they came back with across two very high-profile research teams was, yes, it did help, but it wasn't enough. And the result was they said, well, if we actually wanted to just get back to 2019 levels of achievement, it would take an additional, on top of that $190 billion, it would take an additional $450 to $650 billion just using the school spending approach to get back to where we started. And so there just simply is not that level of funding and appetite from a political level to dump that much money into a system that isn't working well. So I think the real question is, what are the most cost-effective ways to really improve education across the board in a way that really drives resources to kids who need it rather than the adults in the system?
And that's Dr. Patrick Graff. He's Senior Fellow at the American Federation for Children, federationforchildren.org, federationforchildren.org. They're on X, School Choice Now, on Twitter X, School Choice Now. Dr. Graff, great conversation. Thanks for all you and your organization does, and I'm sure we'll be speaking with you as most likely Missouri embarks hopefully further and farther on this issue next year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Indeed. There he goes. 5:42, almost 5:43 in the PM. We've got one final segment. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be a great one. Bet on yourself
is not always a good idea.
Why can't I read the rest of my writing? Betting on yourself is not always a good idea.
That's it exactly.
Interesting indeed. Why would that be so? Chris is going to He's going to give us some. Give us some tidbits on that and more when we come back, and then we'll prepare you for Larry Connors USA. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first solar forecast. It's a great day with breezy conditions and temperatures in the mid-80s. Overnight, we fall to 63 degrees, and we're in the mid-70s tomorrow. Also, watch overnight between 1 and 9 a.m. Some storms are looking likely. There is a very low severe wind risk. And then Friday, between 3 and 8, isolated storms are possible, with the highest chance for that being to the south. Beyond that, keep an eye on Monday. We have a first alert weather day. With your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next-door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment policies in the nation. Kansas parents are trusted with choices and options, while Missouri parents must move out of their home to change public schools. And it's a trend. Nationwide, the percentage of students going to their chosen public school has steadily increased. Assigning kids to schools based on their zip code is the old way. Open enrollment is a better way. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
So I'd like to know where you got the notion. Said I'd like to know where you got the notion.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Rock the boat, I don't tip the boat over. Rock the boat, I don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat.
And the Trump administration reclassifying marijuana this morning. The order does not legalize marijuana for medical or recreational use at the federal level, but it does change the way it's regulated. Acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche signed the order this morning, shifting licensed medical marijuana from the most restricted category to a less tightly controlled one. It also gives licensed medical marijuana operators a major tax break and eases some barriers to researching cannabis.
547 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. And I got to tell you, Tim, I thought I would never live to see the day where marijuana would be legal and is as socially accepted as it is today. Did you think you'd see this day coming?
I did not think it would. Here's your SAT word for the day. I did not think it would be this ubiquitous.
Ah.
You know? Like where, Chris, it's like in convenience stores.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
yeah.
I never thought it would be at that level.
Yeah.
You know, I figured with the scientific advancements in learning how well it treats PTSD and all that, I'm like, okay, well, at some point we'll be at a point where people can get a prescription and all that. But man, you could literally walk across the street, you know, somewhere around here and find a dispensary.
There's a dispensary about 2 blocks up from my home.
Yeah.
Which I'm amazed by that.
They're in every kind of neighborhood too, right? And if you sit in the parking lot, so I'm not saying I've done this, I'm not a weirdo, But, like, you got everything from seniors to soccer moms to, of course, the hippie dope smokers, you know?
I remember a story a while back. This was my grandfather was blind. He was blinded from a accident from a welding machine. And I remember he told us this story one time. We were probably 12, 13 years old, that some kids that lived near him smoked marijuana. And so, you know, you always hear about, they were talking about if you smoke marijuana, if you have glaucoma, it takes the pressure off your eyes and it may help you see better or whatever. And I remember him telling us that he bought a little marijuana from some neighborhood kids just to see if, it would improve his sight or anything. And he was like, I didn't really feel anything, buzz or anything about it. I tried it. So we just thought that was just a wild thing that here's your grandfather, like buying weed and smoking weed.
Now everybody's grandfather is.
Exactly. And I tell you.
You put your weed in here.
Yes, you do.
And you know what? There's been a lot of discussion among people. You know, people are accepting marijuana being legal, because you're supposed to do it in your home or somewhere where other people can't smell it. But because marijuana has been legalized, there are a lot of complaints from people that if you walk down the street, you're smelling the waffling of marijuana in the air everywhere.
All the time.
And, these kids nowadays, when we were younger, we made sure that we had the windows down so you couldn't smell anything. These kids now drive around with the windows up, smoking weed, and they get out of the car and they just smell like a dispensary. They don't care that they smell like that, and it's because it's legal now. People really, really don't care that they're walking around smelling like weed.
It is embedded. Look, you do you, but when you're out in public, can you just pop a gummy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you just, that way we don't have to smell the rest of us, because it is a noticeable pungent odor.
Yeah, when you smell marijuana smell,
and you
what
smell
that
it
is.
A lot now. Like, and sometimes, Chris, I'll be like walking around and like just nobody's around.
Yeah.
It has a pervasive attitude to it. Like you'll be like, where's the car?
Yeah.
Where's and somehow it wafts over and you're like, whoa, where'd that come from?
I did a story on this a few weeks back about the city of Rock Hill has a dispensary, but this is where they actually manufacture the marijuana. And so some of the residents in Rock Hill have been complaining because their neighborhoods smell like weed, raw weed. And, they're supposed to have scrubbers and all these things to keep that smell from getting out of the factory. But they're complaining about that you walk out, take your trash out, and you're just smelling marijuana.
They should put up a big smokestack that looks like a bong. Just embrace it.
They should. All right, I've been teasing it all show. You should not always bet on yourself. And the reason why, Kalshi, that is the betting app. Is that a betting app? What do you call it?
Joey's favorite site.
It's a prediction market app because the people are just both betting yes or no on a thing.
Okay.
And all the no's give their money to the yeses depending on how it turns out.
So it's not a gambling app. It's a prediction market app.
Yeah, it's not like the house has odds or anything. It's more like they're taking a service fee for
Yes
you
or no.
guys to give each other yes or no money.
Well, Kalshi, which is the leader in that market, has suspended and fined 3 political candidates from the betting site after an internal investigation found they placed bets on their own races, Tim. Though Kalshi didn't identify who the candidates were, the names started filtering out. Matt Klein, who's running for Congress as a Democrat in Minnesota, he apologized on a post on X. And Mark Moran, who's running for Virginia Senate as an independent, welcomed the attention. And he told the Wall Street Journal he had no intention of paying the fine. So not always a good thing to bet on yourself if you are a political candidate, because Kalshi will find you.
Or a sports figure.
Or sport, exactly.
You're not supposed to bet. That's supposed to be the cardinal rule, right? You're not supposed to bet on yourself on stuff because you have control over the result.
That's true. But you seem like you should be able to bet on yourself for a political candidate. How are you going to, screw up the election to make sure you win or lose? I guess you could make sure you lose.
Yeah, you could, I guess. Stuff the ballot box for the other guy. Yeah.
Well, Democrats have been doing that for generations.
2 of the candidates had to pay like $600 fines because they apologized, but the one that didn't apologize, he had a $6,000 fine he's supposed to pay.
So he must have been betting heavy on himself.
Let's ask Pete Rose. Maybe he can call in and tell us how that works out.
Here's a very interesting story here that is making the rounds. A top-level Trump counterterrorism official is under investigation amid claims she actively looks for sugar daddies to maintain her exorbitant lifestyle.
Oh, no.
According to her ex-boyfriend's complaint, he has spent tens of thousands of dollars on her, including luxury international trips to Italy, Switzerland, Aruba, high-end hotels, Cartier jewelry, and designer items like a multi-$1,000 handbag. He alleges he's paying for fine dining, electronics like a camera, ski gear, and specific requested items. Where he's saying that he did that, but he wasn't calling himself a sugar daddy. He further claims she asked him to cover her rent during a period that she wasn't working. She also asked him to put a credit card in her name so she could purchase more freely. But he said he refused. He finally got smart. I guess he figured it out after a while. She was on a site called Seeking.com. And it's one of the best-known platforms for sugar daddy, sugar baby arrangements. The profile was reported under an alias Alicia and described a lifestyle oriented towards, quote, wealthy, older men and mutually beneficial relationships. We used to call that friends with benefits back in the day.
I like that.
There's a whole underground of wild weirdness in this world, you know? Did you know that? There really is.
Remember the Ashley Madison website where you were trying to find people to cheat on your wife
Yeah,
with?
what happened to that site?
But it got revealed that there was no women on that site at all. It was just like bots and Indian guys responding to these dudes and stealing their credit card information.
I remember that site.
So I like that there's another one, like a honey trap, but for women. Like, get all these women who are looking for a sugar daddy. There's no real people on that website. I guarantee it.
So this one seems to be legit. Those of you out there that are seeking a sugar daddy or a sugar baby, Seeking.com. Maybe we should get them to advertise. Probably big business there.
Get salesman Ethan on that.
Yeah, put your credit card in there, see what happens.
Tim, did you ever take your daughter to take your child to work day? Any of your daughters?
I'm sure yeah. Well, they came to me at the Capitol a few times when I was up there, and I think, I'm trying to remember if I brought them to the law firm or not back in the day, maybe. And they've been, I did bring them into studio a couple times over the years. So yeah, I've shown my daughters what I do at work, yes.
Well, yesterday was Take Your Child to Work Day at the Capitol.
Okay.
And Hakeem Jeffries, of course, is the minority leader. He took questions from children of the Capitol Hill Press Corps. I love this kid. The first question that he got was, why do voters view Democrats so poorly?
Is that CNN's Harry Enton?
I don't know.
Kid?
Or maybe somebody from like Breitbart or like Newsmax. Maybe he was a Newsmax kid. I don't know.
That's an insightful question.
Very insightful question. Why do voters view Democrats so poorly? Here's something else regarding betting. Investors have made huge bets just before President Donald Trump's announcements about the Iran war, raising concerns about insider trading. A BBC analysis found a, quote, consistent pattern of trading spikes hours or even minutes before a White House public statement sent oil prices or the stock market down. The Guardian similarly noted more than a dozen $100,000 bets on prediction markets foretelling the February airstrike on Iran. The New York Times reported that 150 bets of $1,000 or more predicting the start of the war. Insider trading is illegal, but there is a strong chance that no one will be prosecuted because it is so hard to prove. But people are making somehow a lot of money predicting on when these events are happening. They seem to have some type of inside information. Who knows?
It's got to be one of the oldest. Well, it's the second. Is it the third oldest profession? Gambling? Yeah. We can't talk about too much of the other two on the air.
We can't. And we got time. No, we don't have time. Well, we got one more story. This is a story about pilots have gone viral. One pilot said meow over the radio. A second pilot responded. Air traffic controllers at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport were feeling feline. You guys need to be professional pilots. One air traffic controller appeared to scold. Meow, 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 meow. One of the pilots replied. Ruff, ruff, roo, roo, roo. The other pilot barked. The identities of the pilots and exact circumstances of their flights were unclear, and the Federal Aviation Administration does not validate third parties. So pilots having a little fun on radio, meowing and roughing.
Just please watch where you're going.
Exactly. All right. That is the end of our show. Next up, of course, is Larry Connor's USA. The story behind the story when Larry almost died in a Texas oil field. Boy, you want to stick around for that. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Looking for insurance you can truly trust? Since 1986, Bauer Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses across Missouri and Illinois. Owner Cindy Blanton doesn't just offer one quote. She shops all the top carriers like Progressive, Travelers, Safeco, and more to find you the best rates. Whether it's your home, auto, toys, or